The indie author revolution has been around for more than a decade, but we indies continue to push the boundaries of what we're capable of. From getting over initial prejudices to staring down perfectionism and author imposter syndrome, we've become a force to reckon with. Now, after years of hustle and grind, we indies are rebelling again. Gone are the days of publishing a book a month until we drop, and in its place we're sowing the seeds of a better way. A way with more ease, abundance, and flow. Get ready to learn about indie authorship from a whole new perspective. We're about to cover everything from releasing your poverty mentality to manifesting your millionaire author destiny. I'm Carissa Andrews, and this is the Author Revolution Podcast.
Well, hi there, and welcome back to the Author Revolution Podcast. Oh my goodness, guys, I have to tell you, I am getting pretty dang excited and a little bit nervous because next week, literally today, 1 week from today, we're going to be on the road. Colin and I are going to Idaho for the Idaho Writers Guild Conference. And I have 3 different presentations that I'm going to be delivering out there. And so I've been working on the presentations, getting everything prepped and ready to go. And this is probably the biggest conference that I have taught at when it comes to like the number of lessons. In the past, I've done like one big talk, and then I was the MC for the Lakes Area Writers Alliance. So I was pretty much like the voice of the conference all day, which has its own challenges, but this is definitely going to be putting me outside of my comfort zone a little bit. Like I'm good, hanging out behind the microphone. I'm good hanging out with like the Zoom class and the students who I'm used to hanging out with and talking with. But it's always a little bit different when I am in person. It's like all of a sudden Lorelai Gilmore takes over my body, and you better have your coffee in order to keep up with me, right? I mean, I talk fast anyway. And so if you were to listen to the podcast episode on like 2 times speed, you probably are listening to a chipmunk. Just ask my friend Tammy Tyree. She's tried doing that before and had to definitely laugh about the situation because I talk pretty quickly. But the thing is, I get excited about what it is that we're talking about, and I get excited about getting all the words out and making sure that you guys are understanding like what it is I'm trying to describe. So as we're getting ready for this conference, I was trying to think like, what could today's podcast episode be about? What is it that I feel needs to be discussed before I head out and into this unknown space? Like we're actually driving from Minnesota all the way out to Idaho. And so we're going to be driving through like North Dakota and into Montana, and then down through like the corner of Wyoming and then into Idaho. We're going to be stopping at Yellowstone. And so there's these different things that are coming about that I've never been to, I've never done before. And so to me, I guess, I'm thinking more about growth. I'm thinking about the expansion of what we get to do, what we are allowing ourselves to receive, what we believe we get to have, right? And so today I really want to talk about like your growth and lighting up the world with your gifts and your growth and your healing, because all of those things impacts the world. It impacts the way that you interact with your readers. It interacts with the way that you are just in your normal life, the people who are surrounding you, who love you, who interact with you on a daily basis. And so when we start to look at our lives in terms of growth and expansion and healing, it's really important to recognize that in doing so, it's not just helping us move forward. It's not just helping us, break free from being stuck or feeling like we are lost or feeling like we don't know what we're doing. It's literally changing the dynamic of everything around you, right? It's changing the way that you show up. It's changing the way you interact with your kids. It's changing the way you interact with your writing. And so conferences, in my mind, are like truly the ultimate in growth. It is a place where authors, writers, people of like mind come together to talk about things that are really important to them and that light them up, but also it's just enough of a push that it gets you out of your comfort zone. Number one, it gets you more than likely out of your own town, right? You have to go someplace else to go do this thing. Maybe you don't travel a whole lot, so that's exciting. Maybe you don't usually hop on an airplane or drive across the country. Or maybe there are sites that you get to see that you've never seen before. Like it's all about growth and expansion and new experiences. And let's face it, as authors, when we experience new things, it gives us new fodder for our books, right? We have new material to be able to incorporate, new growth ideas that happen that wouldn't have come about if we didn't go do the thing. Plus, once you go into those conferences, you go into a session or you go into a meetup or whatever, now all of a sudden you're talking with people who are similar to you. They're doing the thing that you're doing, and yet they're enlightening you in new ways. It doesn't matter if you're a new author, an aspiring author, or someone who's been doing it for 35 years. Everybody has their own unique perspectives that they bring to the table, and it can enlighten every single one of us. So conferences are really cool because there's this convergence of energy, this convergence of ideas, this excitement for what's possible, and it helps us to really grow and expand in ways that we're not even anticipating when we go in, right? A lot of the times we're just thinking, oh my gosh, I hope I remember to bring my toothbrush, right? So it's not quite as profound when you're going in. You're not like, okay, I'm planning on learning how to become a better Enneagram 9, unless of course you're realizing that Claire Taylor is going to be there and you're going to be discovering as much as you possibly can through her talks. But you know what I mean, right? We don't know what we don't know yet. And so going into the conference, it's kind of this big mystery. It's unfolding the ideas that are going to become a core part of who you are, very likely, right? Especially if you haven't gone to many conferences or you haven't heard the talks from people before, their influence on you can really shape the way you start to view what's possible. And so I want you to be thinking about, if you haven't signed up for a conference yet this year, I want you to think about, number one, are you in the area of Idaho? If you are, you should come join us because we're going to be talking about some amazing things. We have so many incredible speakers: Claire Taylor, Becca Syme, Troy Lambert, myself. So many people are going to be talking and discussing conversations about indie authorship and authorship that are important right now. And so think about coming to Idaho. If you're in the area, sign up. It would be wonderful to see you and to say hello. If you're already going, definitely stop by and say hello to me. I would love to chat with you and talk about all things indie authorship, manifestation, whatever. But there are other conferences too, right? I'm going to be at InkersCon next month. There's obviously the 20 Books Vegas conference. There are conferences in your state, I promise you, or in your country. If you're in a different country than the United States, there is something that you can go join in order to expand your knowledge, to expand your reach, to widen your scope of what you believe is possible. And when we do that, when we trust that the growth is there, when we trust that the new things we're meant to learn is going to come to us, that's where that healing comes in, right? We start to heal from any wounds that we had about whether or not our work is good enough, or whether or not we can reach the right readers, or whether or not we can actually earn a living from this job, or all the things start to fade into the background and we start to believe in what's possible again. And I think that's really key. When we lock ourselves up and we're kind of stuck in our own thoughts and we don't really interact with other people, we have this void, this observation bias where our beliefs become this thing that we just continue to reaffirm. And if our beliefs are actually limiting beliefs and they're keeping us stuck and keeping us from growing, then those biases really kind of hinder our desires from coming about, hinder our manifestations from coming to pass, hinder our growth, hinder everything that we're trying to accomplish. Where the opposite is obviously true as well. If your beliefs are expansion-based, if they are growth-based, if they are unlimited possibilities-based, now all of a sudden your biases are confirming everything that you want to see, everything that you're trying to bring into this world. And that's actually a good thing because now you're impacting your thoughts impact your vibration impacts what you get to receive and what you see in the world. And so we need more of this. We need more of this growth. We need more of this connection with others who are doing the same thing. And even when you're introverted, even when talking to other authors seems a little daunting or going around a lot of people seems like a lot, I'm not going to lie, being around a big crowd of people is actually really draining on me. I'm not an introvert. I'd consider myself an ambivert. But there is something about like all the energy, all the people in that space having like that weight on me. And what happens is if I'm not interacting, if I'm not actually an active participant in it, that's when the draining happens. So like me going to Costco, that's draining. There's a lot of people there. And there's like all the information of all the things, like all the products and stuff, right? But if I go to a conference where I am giving as much as I'm receiving, that's different. Like all of a sudden there's this symbiotic basis, this ebb and flow, this cool thing. And the same can go for you too, even if you're introverted, even if you're not quite sure how this thing's going to work, right? If you go there with the idea that all things are going to balance themselves out, that it's okay to be you, that, other authors love being around other authors, it gets a lot easier. And it's not so difficult to put yourself out there. Now, one of the things, I think I've talked about this on the podcast before, that I do plan on trying to accomplish this time is putting my own self out there a little bit more. When we went to Vegas, it was like Colin and I had never been there before. So we were definitely hitting the strip. We were trying to see what was around us. We were going to the different hotels and seeing how they're laid out and like all the things, right? So we didn't do a lot of like socializing and talking with other people. Plus we were there with our friend Kim, which was great. But of course, she's someone that we know. And so we didn't expand in that way as much as I would have liked. Now with this conference, it is different because I'm presenting. It's going to be a little bit different because hopefully people will be able to ask questions, get to know me a little bit more, and I can get to know them. And so it opens up that stage a little bit to be able to feel better about just being like, hey, you were in my class, right? And then just saying, hey, let's talk about whatever. But that's kind of my goal, my plan for this particular conference. Well, actually both conferences. I plan on doing that more. And I want growth for myself. I want growth as an individual, as a writer, as a speaker, as a indie author coach. This is like, for me, and I think I've talked about this as well, growth is kind of like my big word for the year. I want to see growth. I want to see expansion. And while it's scary to think that in a week I'm going to be traveling to Idaho and on the road to, not only a different state, but like to a place where I'm going to have to stand up on stage and talk to people about stuff, I'm like, okay, we're going to do this thing. We're going to do it well, yes. But it's also, it's nerve-wracking, even for me, even for someone who talks a lot, all the time, every week. I'm talking to my students, I'm talking to new people, I'm talking to you guys right now. But in person, it definitely is a different dynamic. And it is about that growth. It is about that expansion. And I keep reminding myself of that as I'm going into this and as I am allowing like whatever experiences are meant to come up. So for you this year, for you right now, I want you to be really truly thinking, in what ways do you need to expand this year? In what ways do you need to change things up? Like, have you been writing in the same place at the same time for like the past year? Are you stuck in a particular part of your book and you haven't moved past it? Have you holed yourself up and you haven't seen another writer in the past, 3 weeks? Like, what are your things and how can you expand into something that's a little bit different? How can you push your boundaries just a little bit differently? Can you write something that is in a different genre? Can you trust that ads are going to work out for you this time? Can you talk to someone who is going to help you level up? Can you take a class that's going to help you to expand your viewpoint of something? Whatever it is, I want you to be thinking about your own personal growth right now. We're also in a time of Mercury retrograde. It's coming to an end very soon, but retrograde for me has always felt like this place of letting go of the lessons I've been learning, if that makes sense. So like if the lessons have been coming up and I have been working through them and I've been trying to release them and I've been trying to grow beyond them, during that time, when Mercury's in retrograde, I have a lot of those same ideas crop up, almost as if it's like hey, do you remember this thought? Are you sure you've let it go? Are you sure you've moved on from it? And so I have to acknowledge that it's there, acknowledge that, there's that thing again. And yes, I'm going to let you go, like acknowledge it and move on. But it's also a great time for creativity. So for those of us who have Mercury as a big part of our chart, people like Geminis, Virgos, we have this incredible creativity that flows during Mercury retrograde as well. It's a very creative time. And so take some opportunity to like sit in that energy, to trust that right now the energy is great for you to write some stuff and to get it out and onto the page. So be growing, be expanding, be looking at your life right now, at the way that your author career looks right now, and be more curious, excavate some new stuff, expand into new ways, into new territories, and allow yourself to just truly grow at this time of the year. We're midway through the year almost, and it's crazy to think that in just a few short weeks, we're going to be at the halfway point of 2023. So what have you accomplished? What have you grown into? What can you continue to grow past or beyond or let go of or release or heal from? So that is my, talk for this week. That's my thought process for this week. That's what I feel called to share with you, to have you be thinking about as I get ready to go to this conference myself and as I'm starting to get my ducks in a row for the conference, as it will. And I want you to just know that you're not alone in this. Being an author, being a writer doesn't have to be solitary. Conferences help us to realize that we are connected in ways that we didn't even realize before. Like you're feeling a certain way. I bet you authors in that conference are feeling the exact same way. And then all of a sudden you realize you're not alone. You're not alone in this. Seriously consider joining one of the conferences. Join one of the conferences I'm teaching at. And if you can't make it to Idaho or to InkersCon, then I would really recommend you take a look around you. What conferences are near you and what can you attend? Even if it's just your local community and you go to a writers group event and they're just talking about things there, that is an amazing opportunity to grow as well. All right. Well, I'm going to spend the rest of the afternoon getting ready for Idaho. I'm still working on slides. I'm still working on my presentations. I'm still getting everything down. I'm looking forward to it. Trying not to freak out over it. And overall, I know it's going to be a blast. So, I'm surrounded by amazing people that I admire and think are just amazing anyway. So this is going to be a fun time. All right, guys. So if you'd like to get the transcript to today's podcast episode, you can head over to authorrevolution.org/182 and you can download it there. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. I hope it's given you some food for thought when it comes to growth and to lighting up the world with your gifts, with your passion, with your healing. It's time that we start taking back who we are and what we get to have and how we get to impact the world and let our light shine brighter. That's truly what I think we are here on this planet to do. It's why we're writers. We are here to either transmute the darkness into light. We're here to shine light upon something. We are here to share our own light in our own ways. We're here to uncover our light. It's really, truly about becoming more of who we already are. And I hope that you will continue to do exactly that, uncover more of who you are. All right? So you know what you got to do then. Go forth and start your author revolution.